I wanted to figure out a way to get athletes to train more consistently so that we can actually produce results. And it basically tells us how much force that you can generate and how quickly you can do it. And that's very important for getting off the blocks quickly. Our goal with this service is to increase everybody's strength, mobility. All right, this is Inside ASP. This is a new series that we're going to be doing where we give an insider look into the operations of ASP, inside look into what I do on a day-to-day, an inside look into what the staff is doing on a day-to-day, what the pros are doing on a day-to-day. And so today we're going to talk about a couple things: ASP Pro Team updates, summer internship, and the cool internship projects that they're doing, big changes that we've made and are making to our business and business model, and new training KPIs that we're going to start implementing, including the jump KPIs that Zhenwei Tiang and Caleb Dressel are the highest in within the ASP organization. So I'm going to discuss the specific KPI that they're really good at, because Zen's best time to 15 on paper is 5:0. I got him 4:9 one time in training on my stopwatch. I don't know how accurate that one was because it's on my watch, but anyways, 5:0, 4:9, and then Caleb's best is 4:8. So, and I just noticed that they are the highest in these KPIs, and I'll discuss that later. But first things first, pro team updates. So recently we had Kamal join, at Aquatic Kamal. He was the last podcast guest. That was episode 25. Yeah, episode 25. And he's with us until August, up until Nationals. And then he's got to go back to Tennessee to go finish out his school. He's going to go finish up his degree, and then he'll come back supposedly in January. And Kamal is so raw, and he just has so much talent, and there's so much low-hanging fruit that we can chase with him, and I'm very excited because there's just so much potential to be pursued with that guy. Anyways, we just swam at Grand Challenge and at the Sacramento Pro Series. We kind of split up the team. Some people went to Grand Challenge, some people went to Sacramento. Sid and I, we elected to stay at Grand Challenge because it's pretty costly to send both Sid and I, paying the flight, hotel, and then not to mention the opportunity cost that comes with me and Sid being gone. And we have to cover our Sid sessions, and that it becomes expensive. And so we elected to stay. But overall, the meet was pretty good. Santo won a best time in the 50 butterfly. He went 23-1. What's interesting is he did it in 18 strokes. I thought that was pretty cool. Lincoln also won a best time. He went 29-3 in the 50 breaststroke. And it's really cool because we figured out kind of a new drill for him in his breaststroke that we kind of discovered in the 100 the previous day. We kind of always knew that his kick was weird because of his years of playing water polo. He would get this massive hip flexion angle that we've been trying to work out, where he extends his hips a little bit more and internally rotates the hips a little bit more. And it's just been really hard to do for him from a timing and mobility perspective. But we kind of figured out this new drill. I think it might be on the Grand Challenge vlog. Hopefully Sid recorded the drills that we did. But anyways, I told him in the prelims, hey, I don't care how fast you go. I just want you to make sure you hit, the drill correctly, and not the actual drill, but you hit the things that we worked on in the drill, in the race and prelims. And he did, and he went 29-8 or something, and he was like chilling. And his best time was like 29-4 at the time. And so in finals, we worked on the drill a little bit more in the warm-up. And then I told him, hey, just give it like 10% more juice. Don't go all out yet. Just give it like 10% more juice. And he did. And then he went a best time, 29-3, not even going all out. So really, really stoked about that, and got a huge dopamine hit. I'm sure he did too. But yeah, the that was it was a pretty cool meet. Kind of got to see where everyone's at. Also, Nico just got married last weekend, a couple of days ago, actually. Congrats, Nico. I believe he watches these podcasts. So, yeah, congrats. That's really cool. He just got married in Serbia. Moving along, we entered after Grand Challenge. Everyone kind of starts to split off their different ways based on the what meets that they're preparing for. Not everyone is different, but it was really hard kind of organizing, and planning all this, but I tried my best to keep everyone together for as long as possible. But we entered a new 4-week block where we're doing 1 week of GPP. Some people are doing 2 weeks of GPP, depending on who they are. And then 2 weeks of strength or 1 week of strength. And then 1 week of deload. And I talked in previous podcasts about why I plan these deloads around swim meets, even if they're not as big of a meet that we might be preparing for. But in 4 weeks, we'll be going to either the Indy Pro Series or SMOC. And the way we decided it was everybody who needs to go to Indy Pro Series, like Maxine and Santo and Marina and Nat, I believe, are all going to go to Indy, and all us Brook boys will stay back and race in Mission Viejo at SMOC, so we don't have to pay for the fly hotel and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, yeah, this 4-week block, it just went up on our website a couple days ago, I believe. Thibaut put it up, and if you guys want access to it, season 3, phase 4 is live. If you use the code podcast10, you get 10% off the program. And that directly helps us support the pro team. We are recording this on June 2nd, but in terms of future meets coming up, in 2 weeks, we have the Indy Pro Series in SMOC. In 5 weeks, we have LAI at USC. In 7 weeks, we have the Commonwealth Games where Calvin and Zen will be racing. And then we also have on the same weekend, the Central and Caribbean Games for Marina and Maddie. In 8 weeks, we have Nationals in Irvine for Bria, Drew, Maxine, Kamal, Caleb, Michael, Andrew, and Santo. And then in 10 weeks, we have Pampax. Calvin and Santo will be there. And I've been asked to be with the Taiwanese national team. So I'll be on deck with them. I'm going to be training them online. And then they're also coming here for a pre-Pampax camp that they'll do with us. I believe it's 5 athletes total. And then in 12 to 13 weeks, Lincoln has a meet in Taiwan that he's going to prepare for. That'll be his primary meet of the year. And then 14 weeks, Santi has South American Games. And in 15 weeks, Nat and Zen have the Asian Games in Tokyo. So we have a lot of different schedules to prepare and to manage. And different, personalities and taper styles. And I have to kind of think about all these things ahead of time. So I'm doing the right things now, because it really matters what you do now to set yourself up for success 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks down the line. And so it's actually a lot of fun. It's like playing convoluted Tetris and managing all these factors. But yeah, it's fun. And so these are the things that are coming up for our pro team. Moving on, we are currently in the midst of our summer internship. We opened up applications for our ASP summer internship, I think back in like March or something like that. Anyways, I was very surprised. We had like 20 plus applicants. And each applicant does a potential of 3 rounds of interviews. They do one with Thibaut first, and then if Thibaut says cool, then Sid does one, and then I do one. We ended up accepting 6 people, and we're currently working with 5 because one of the applicants never responded, and they missed the first meeting. So I kind of just kicked him out because I'm not going to chase him. And we're trying to build a team that has standards and basically elite people willing to fight the war on mediocrity with us. And so, if you got invited but you never respond and you don't show up to the first meeting, I'm sorry, you can't be on the team. But for the people that are on the team, I'm really happy with this current internship cohort that we have. I think they're a bunch of elite individuals, and they all have different skills and they all bring something different to the table. Their current responsibilities while they're here, actually, I can't say responsibilities. It's voluntary responsibilities. They basically help us coach at the gym, and whoever is coaching that session, if it's Sophie or Sid or GV, they're also kind of talking them through what they're looking for as they're coaching. They're sharing their coaching tactics to the interns. So they're kind of helping us with like the facility setup and assistant coaching. And then they're also coming to swim practice with us, where they're helping us film. Nathan's been great about helping us film and organize all the videos by athlete name, so it's easy to find. That's been really helpful. Emma and Kieran have been helping us track data and provide the athletes with the data of their best averages and their best swims and whatnot. But yeah, this internship, so it consists of assistant coaching both in the gym and at the pool, but then also they have voluntary internship projects. They have 2 voluntary internship projects. The first one, it's kind of fun. The first one is a programming competition. So in week 10 of the internship, we will have gone over, how to coach arm care, how to coach upper body, how to coach lower body, how to program, how to design, or how to use force plates, how to take the data and implement the data from the force plates. What is the bucket system? What is the ASP training system? How do you assess mobility and what do you do about it? They've had the opportunity to shadow Dr. Josh and what he's looking for and all these things. And basically by week 10, obviously you're not like super skilled in it, but they will have gone over basically how we write programs. And so at the end of week 10, we're going to put all the names of the interns in a hat, and then the interns will pull a random name, and then they have to then assess that intern and then build a program off it. And then once they build the program, they're going to present it to the staff, the coaching staff, and then the coaching staff is going to anonymously vote on who had the best program. So that's kind of a fun one. That's the first project. And then the second one, I forgot to mention, Sid is filming. We're doing a bunch of these, we're kind of going, every week there's a different topic that I kind of discuss with the interns, and Sid is filming me discuss this, and we're gonna put them up probably for sale on our website. Just let us know if that's something that would be valuable to you, or if you would like to see something different. I'm just trying to get a feel for what people enjoy, or is valuable. The second one is a passion project, and I gave the interns free reign to do a project of their choosing, and it had to be somewhat related to ASP, obviously, but they can use whatever skill set that they had and come up with either a product or a service or a guide or a reference or whatever. So for example, Emma is creating an athlete data dashboard with Tebow, so coaches can easily see each athlete's KPI, and so that we can easily input all of the swim data into a laptop, and then also easily retract all the swim data. And then we're also, and not only the swim data, but also all of the gym mobility and vault and force play data is all going to be in one place, so that it's easily accessible and easily retractable. And then we're also going to try to implement AI into the thing, so that we can easily get recommendations based on all the data. Because one of the things I found when I'm looking at data is I have to go searching for different metrics. And if I can just have AI tell me, hey, this person needs to work this, and that, and then these are red flags and these are green flags, then that would be awesome. And then Haley is helping us redesign our lobby with a fueling station. She's redoing all of our swim caps. She's making a fueling station, which I think is really cool. We're gonna bring our supplement partners, nutrition partners, and put that all into a fueling station. And I really like this idea, but she's gonna call it fueling potential, which I think is really cool. And then she's also making a nutrition and supplement guide that we can give to our athletes when they first onboard with us. So I think that's a really good idea. And she's been awesome in like helping us hang the swim caps and all that, because I tried to do it and it was all crooked, but she did a really good job straightening everything out. Kieran's project is really cool. He's profiling not every single movement, but the primary movements that we train. So like trap bar deadlift, seal row, pull up, power clean, power snatch, back squat, and also the Kaiser, which we just got delivered today. But basically he is doing the mean propulsive velocity for all of the non-Olympic lifts. So for example, the pull up, he's making everybody, or as many people as he can get his hands on, do a 1 rep max, building up to a 1 rep max for all those movements. So for example, I had to go from bodyweight pull up to 10%, 20%, 30%, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, all the way to 100%, and do a 1 rep max for each movement. So far I've done it for trap bar deadlift and pull up. And basically, he's just tracking mean propulsive velocities for all of these, so that when we give velocity-based recommendations for our athletes, we have a set guideline that we can use. So, for example, if we're in the strength speed phase, I can say, hey, for this movement, let's stay between 0.8 meters per second, 0.9 meters per second. And that way we know that they are in the strength speed zone. One of the issues with the traditional strength speed, or the traditional velocity chart that you see online, is that it doesn't account for the differences in the movements. And every single movement, whether it's trap bar deadlift, bench press, back squat, all of them have different velocity zones for each percentage. So for example, 70% will have a different velocity for pull up, trap bar deadlift, back squat, and so on and so forth. So that basically it just gives us more accurate recommendations and prescriptions that we can give athletes. And then he's also taking peak velocity for the Olympic lifts. And that's an important distinction between mean propulsive velocity and peak velocity. Mean propulsive velocity just takes the propulsive part of the range of motion on the concentric portion. It removes the portion where you're decelerating at the end of the movement. Mean velocity will track all of that, but mean propulsive velocity removes the part where you decelerate at the end. Peak velocity is the fastest velocity that you hit, and that's important for Olympic lifts because peak velocity usually happens at the end of the second pull. So the first pull is, depending on the variation that you're doing, the first pull, if you're going from the ground, is from shin to knee, and then the second pull happens from knee to wherever you hit with your power position. So the peak velocity usually happens right after you hit in the power position, and that is the most important part for the Olympic lifts. And so for snatch and clean, we're taking peak velocity. Nathan's project, I don't want to discuss too much yet because it's not fully finalized. And I won't discuss too much, but I will say that it involves swimming and the Philippines. And then Sam wants to become an orthopedic surgeon, but she's doing a research review for us on swimming injuries and both the lower body and the shoulders, and basically ensuring that our training protocols align with the latest research. So that's really cool. And it also aligns with what she wants to do in the future. And that was one of the big things that I told the interns at the beginning, was like, hey, if you're going to spend time doing a project, like make sure that it's gonna benefit you in some way, or it's a product, like say for Emma, she's creating a dashboard for us. She can take that with her to whatever job she goes to in the future. So I told them, hey, make sure you're using this time wisely. Do something that you can put on your resume, do something that you can take with you, do something where you learn a ton. So like for Sam, I'm sure she's going to learn a ton about injuries, and I'm sure that's going to help her become a great orthopedic surgeon. Next thing, we've had a bunch of changes to our business and business model. So some of these things have already happened. Some things are happening. But some things that have happened is we recently started offering memberships for our training, our in-person training. So historically, we only had punch cards, basically where you train and then you get one training session knocked off your punch card. But we recently decided to offer memberships. And the reason we decided to do that was, as a company, I realized there was a disconnect in our business model and what we were preaching, which is consistency. I believe that you can have, the best or the worst training program in the world, but if you don't have consistency, it doesn't matter. And what we were finding is that, some athletes would train once a month, twice a month. And like, at that point, it's like, we're not really getting anything productive done. And so I wanted to figure out a way to get athletes to train more consistently so that we can actually produce results. And I have to thank my friend Jack Brown from Aquaticsportsperformance about this. They kind of switched to the membership model, I think last year or 2 years ago, I can't remember, but I talked to him a bunch about it, about the business model, how it worked, how it worked for his athletes. And one of the things he told me was his athletes came in more often, they felt better, they were swimming faster, they had less injuries. And so it was kind of a no-brainer. It was just kind of figuring out the logistics of how to do it. So Jack, I don't know if you're listening, but I just want to say thank you for all of the insights that you have given us. It's funny, Jack's business name is Aquaticsportsperformance and our name is Aquatic Sports Performance. And people always come up to me. Actually, we had one time, one of his clients Venmo'd us because they thought it was him. I told Jack and we sent the money back, but it's pretty funny how similar our names are. And people will say like, "Oh, that's your competitor. You gotta beat him." But I don't know. Like, he's up in NorCal and he's a good friend. And I was just having this conversation with somebody, I forget who, but I think it's important to have an abundance mindset and not a scarcity mindset. I think there's enough business to go around in this world, and we don't have to have the scarcity mindset of like, oh, the competitor, blah, 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 blah. So anyways, thank you, Jack. In addition to this membership, basically we're looking for training consistency. So we also added, we used to only train in Irvine at our satellite location, Monday to Friday at 6:45 p.m. But we recently added a Saturday. And actually I talked to the owner of the Irvine gym, and it's a pretty popular time for them. So in order for us to rent Saturday morning, it's pretty expensive for us, but we wanted to provide opportunities to have this consistency for our athletes. And we know Saturday is a very popular time slot, and people live all the way down in South County, and we want to make it convenient for them to train. And so we made that decision to offer Saturday mornings in Irvine. And then that also makes the membership more valuable for our clients. Couple other changes that we're making to the business is our athlete pipeline. We're changing the naming and then also offering a new service, which I'll get into. So our youth sports performance will stay the same. That's our performance program for athletes age 7 to 11. We're actually having Bring a Friend month in June. So bring a friend. And then our core offering, which we used to call the individualized semi-private, which I think was too long, we're going to change that name to just sports performance. So we're making that change. And then the new service that we are currently developing, Sophie and I, we are working together to develop this, but we're going to start an adult performance class. So the pipeline goes youth sports performance, and then adult performance. And the adult performance class, it's kind of going to be a spin of our training system built for both Gen Pop clients and also master swimmers. But we wanted to differentiate ourselves from other adult fitness classes, and kind of do what we do best, which is, strength, mobility, and performance based. So we're going to do KPI tracking for all of our adult athletes. Sophie and I, we haven't fully finalized all the KPIs that we'd be tracking for all the adults, but some things we did say we would do is like DSI, counter movement jump on the force plates, probably some kind of pull-up variation, something on the Kaiser. But yeah, these are all in development currently right now. And the reason we want to track all these numbers is because we know that as you age, all of your, strength, power, mobility metrics, all these numbers will go down. It's a matter of when, not if. And so we know these numbers will go down, but if you can make your base super high, so I'm just going to use an extreme example just to illustrate a point. Your deadlift number, right? Your deadlift number will go down as you age. But if your max deadlift is 185 pounds, it'll degrade down to, say 115 pounds. But if you can get your deadlift up to, say, 700 pounds, and I'm using an extreme number to illustrate a point, when you degrade, maybe you degrade to 315 pounds. And that's a much better place to be as an adult than, deadlifting 115 pounds. So that's one example. You can apply the same principle to your counter movement jump, your lat mobility. It applies across the board. And so our goal with this service is to increase everybody's strength, mobility, just overall well-being, by kind of using our training system. And me, Thibaut, and Sophie had a meeting, but we decided to offer, kind of as an incentive to get this thing going, that the first 30 members will receive 20% off for the first 6 months as kind of like a founding members rate. So that's pretty cool. It's been in development. We've been working hard on it. I don't know when it'll launch yet, but hopefully later this summer. Another thing that we've been working really hard on, actually, Thibaut's been mostly working on this, and I've been kind of helping him with it, is we've been developing 2 different apps, a staff app and then a member app. So Thibaut just straight up vibe coded all of these, by the way, and then I just come in and just kind of provide little suggestions here and there. Oh, this font is a little bit big. Stuff like that, and then he's doing all the grunt work. I think, I did a little bit more than that, but Thibaut did most of the grunt work. But the staff app, basically, it helps the coaches. They can schedule themselves for sessions for both online and in person. They can see who's training when. They can communicate with the remote athletes through there. They can see all of the athlete KPIs on there. They can see the training session of who's doing what session. They can see all the swim workouts that we're posting. And then they can also manage client accounts through the app. So that's going to make just the operation run a little bit more smoothly. And then the member app is cool because previously we needed one app for the member to schedule their session and then one app for training. So we had 2 different apps that they had to, download and make a profile for and all that. So it added steps to our onboarding system or our onboarding process. But now it's all integrated into one. So the members, they can schedule, they can access the workout on the app. Actually, all of our online programs are going to be on there too. So if you've been on ASP Swim, we're going to be making a switch to our own app in the next month or so. All of our digital programs, all of our remote coaching are going to happen on the member app. So we're actually in the debugging phase right now. And hopefully we can launch that very soon. It's not ready yet. It probably needs a little bit more tweaking between me and Thibaut, but we'll get there soon. Sophie, we recently promoted Sophie to Director of Sports Performance, and it's been really, really awesome. We hired Sophie back in the spring of 2025 as a coach, and it's been awesome because before we brought Sophie on as the director, it kind of felt like I had 3 full-time jobs. It was I had to be the CEO of the company. I had to be the director of sports performance, where I'm managing the training and the coaches and all that. And then I also had to be the head coach of a pro swim team. And so now I feel like I only have 2 full-time jobs, which is really nice. But anyways, yeah, we hired Sophie back in the spring of 2025. And ever since she started, she had everything we look for in a great coach. She's a great people person. Which is actually one of the most important things for us. Like, I can teach anybody how to teach a deadlift, but I can't teach an asshole not to be an asshole. And I've always said this, but she's just such a great person. She's intelligent. She's an excellent coach. That's important too. And then the other thing that I noticed was she just gets things done. Like, I don't have to ask her. I don't have to ask her multiple times to do something. She just gets things done, which is what you want from a director. And it really got me thinking. I actually tweeted this a while ago. It got me thinking about this tweet or it's not tweet anymore. Huh? It's what do you post on X? I made this post on X, but it goes like this. The difference between A and B players is tenfold. B players wait for instructions to solve problems. A players solve problems you didn't know you had. And Sophie is definitely an A player. She's constantly just making stuff happen in the back, and I don't even know about it. And that's awesome. That's how I believe you make an organization grow and go further. Couple interesting things about her. She played Division I softball at the University of Utah. She was a stud there, and she didn't swim. And that's one of the things that I would assume people would be like, oh, that's weird that you guys have because we have basically our entire staff is swimmers, and then your director of sports performance is not a swimmer. But I don't care. To me, it doesn't matter that she didn't swim. What matters to me is that she's a great people person and has an ability to learn. That is the most important thing. And Sophie's been great about learning the sport of swimming. I can see it. She's doing her best, and she's getting the lingo down. Did you drop? Like all those like swimming terminologies that people use. She's getting all that stuff down too. She's learning times. One of my mentors, who I interned for when I was in college, Keenan Robinson, he was Michael Phelps's strength coach, and worked with Bob, but he also wasn't a swimmer, and he actually learned swim times. Excuse me. He actually learned swim times by looking at the school record board at Michigan. He got hired by USA Swimming as their, I forget what the title was, maybe it was performance director or something like that. But yeah, you don't need to be a swimmer to work with swimmers. You just have to have an insane ability to learn about it. So yeah, I really don't care that she didn't swim. I just care that, they get things done and they're a great people person. So Sophie, very, very proud to have you on the team, and thanks for everything so far. We also brought on a new coach, Matt. We just brought him on. He swam in high school, and he interned with USC Swimming under a friend of mine, Alex Belgic. He's actually with LA Galaxy now. He's not with USC anymore. But Matt's pretty cool. He just, excuse me. He just completed and defended his thesis. It was a correlational study. It was actually the same exact study design as mine. But he did a correlational study between a bunch of different strength and power KPIs and the hundreds of every stroke. So 100 free, 100 fly, 100 back, 100 breast. The strength metrics that he studied were the counter movement jump, the isometric belt squat, the 1 rep max neutral grip pull up, eccentric hamstring strength, which I believe they used the Nord board, and the various metrics surrounding the counter movement jump, like peak force, rate of force development, all that kind of stuff. I won't get into all the nitty gritty of that stuff, but it was pretty cool results. I read it, but I think you have to take the results with a grain of salt because it is a correlational study, and we all know, if you've taken research methods, correlation does improve causation. Yes, we know. But one of the things that he found the correlations that he found was he found strong correlations between the first 50 of the 100 free and 100 butterfly. So what he did was he actually tested the USC swimmers, and then he also tested it against their performance at a dual meet in these events. And basically in freestyle, he found that there's a bunch of different counter movement jump measures that was correlated with the first 50 of the 100 free, and then also the isometric belt squat, and also plyo push. I forgot to mention plyo push-up. They did a plyo push-up on the force plate that was also correlated, and the 1 rep max neutral grip pull-up was also correlated with the first 50 of the 100 free and 100 fly. Breaststroke was kind of interesting. There was nothing correlated with the first 50, but it correlated with the second 50. So maybe there's some, technique things where once the technique breaks down, I think that's what he talked about in his discussion. He said, I don't know if I might be butchering this, so I don't want to say it, but I think he said that technique, because technique breaks down more in the second 50, the strength and power measures are more correlated with the second 50, something like that. And then backstroke, I guess the touch pads weren't working during the dual meet, and so they could only get the total time and they couldn't get the splits, and then there was no correlation with backstroke with anything. But it's important to note that backstroke had a sample size of 10, or actually freestyle backstroke had a sample size of 10 each, butterfly had a sample size of 11, and breaststroke had a sample size of 8. So those are also things to take into consideration when considering this study. ASP Academy is our swim clinic and swim privates division of the business. Couple exciting things coming up. We have a Dallas clinic in June 13 to June 14 with Marina, and they're going to go over turns, finishes, dives, and underwaters. We have a butterfly and breaststroke clinic July 25th to July 26th, also in Dallas. I believe by the time, it's not up on the website right now, or it might be now. Whenever this podcast dropped, it should be up, but the semi-privates and swim clinics should be available to book on the website. And then also, I am also going to the same team in Dallas or I think it's the same team in Dallas. I'm supposed to be going in October to do a coach's dryland seminar, I believe on Halloween weekend. Training KPIs. So we have gotten, ever since we moved into the new gym, we've got the force plates, we've got the dynamometer, we just got the Kaiser installed actually 6 hours ago. It just came in. So pretty cool. I'm already thinking, or I've been thinking about the KPIs that we can track on that. But one of the KPIs that we used to track, or we won't track anymore because now we have the Kaiser. We would go all out on the assault bike, and then we would just see what the max wattage an athlete can produce was. And I did that as a way to just kind of track their total neural capacity and output. So I've been tracking that since like 2020 or something like that, just to kind of give me an idea of like, can this person like just have pure raw output? Can they do that? Yes or no? But it's not. It's a pretty generic test, and it's not very specific. And one of the things that I've always wanted ever since ASP started in 2019, I've always wanted some kind of core KPI. And I've talked ad nauseum about, using the front lever, the ab wheel, and the L-sit as kind of movement objectives. But then what the Kaiser can do is it can give us a rotational core KPI. So you can set a weight on it. We're going to have to come up with a protocol of, standardizing it against body weight or something like that. But basically you can do like a cable torso rotation on it as hard as you can, and then you'll get a wattage that comes out. And that kind of gives us, not only their neural output, but also how much rotational power that they can produce. And that's really cool for freestyle and backstrokers. And then we can also do a straight arm pull down KPI with the same principles. So, set it at a weight relative to their body weight, which we need to decide on. And I was actually playing with this when we went to a training camp in Taiwan before Worlds last year. Marina and I were playing with it, and I was like, oh wow, this is really useful to track straight arm pulling power. And so we will probably develop some kind of KPI around that. I don't know what it's going to be yet. We just got it delivered 6 hours ago. Kieran and we're going to both work on that. And then we're also switching for our DSI measurement. So DSI is dynamic strength index, and it basically divides the peak force during a squat jump or counter movement jump divided by the peak force of what they call a isometric mid-thigh pull. And in order to do an isometric mid-thigh pull, you need a barbell, or you need something to pull on. You need pins, and then you need to move the force plate underneath the pins, so you're pulling against an immovable object. That works, but it's a real pain to move the force plates back and forth every single time, because you have to put it inside the squat rack. And then also there's like the grip consideration. So I wasn't always a huge fan of the IMTP. So I ordered the Dynamo, where we can do the belt squat variation, the overcoming ISO belt squat. So basically, you're in a quarter squat position, and then you squat up isometrically against it, and then it spits out, however many newtons that you're producing. So we'll take the peak force during a squat jump or counter movement jump, and then divide it by the isometric belt squat force, and that'll give us, I believe, a more accurate DSI score, because actually the belt squat and the jump, you're in very similar positions without any contributions from the upper body, because the mid-thigh pull, you have to hold it with your arms. So on following along with that, a new jump metric that I mentioned earlier that we're going to add to our dashboard for our pros at least, and I have to credit Cam for this. He's kind of the one that first got me thinking about it, and we've talked a lot about this one, but it's peak power divided by body mass, and it's generated in watts per kilogram, and it basically tells us how much force that you can generate and how quickly you can do it, and that's very important for getting off the blocks quickly, because you can get off the block quickly, but if you don't produce a ton of force, then you're not going to jump very far. You can produce a ton of force, but if you don't do it quickly, then your reaction time is slow. So it's kind of this, like, you have to manage. If you can manage both things very well, then your watts per kilogram is very high. And when I was looking in the Vault hub, it basically shows you your entire organization, all the athletes, and you can see, who there's like a trend line. And I noticed Zen and Caleb were higher than everybody else. And I was like, wait, Zen and Caleb also have one of the fastest time to 15s. So I'm gonna share their numbers. Caleb was 80 watts per kilogram. His best time to 15 is 4.8. Zen was 74 watts per kilogram. His best on paper is 5.0. I had him at 4.9. And this is kind of interesting. Santiago Grassi, was 74 watts per kilogram, but his best time to 15, I believe that we have on record is 5.5. He might have been faster before, but on record we have him at 5.5. So what that tells me, if Santi is basically the same in terms of pure output, then the only other thing that is limiting him is his skill. So it's the skill of the dive or the skill of the underwaters. And we know for Santi, we've been working really, really, really hard on his underwater kicking. And so we know that his rate limiter for time to 15 is not his. Well, he could probably be a little bit higher in the watts per kilogram department for sure, but the bigger rate limiter for him is the skill of the dive. And actually, his dive is actually not bad, but we need to work on his entry angle and then also his underwater kicking. That's his rate limiter. So it's just one tool within our toolbox that we can use to kind of identify, okay, what is the thing that they have to work on? So 80 between 70 to like 90, like that's kind of where elite performance is, and that's kind of where we want to be, and where we're striving to be. I've seen some other people within the pro team, males who are around like 56 watts per kilogram. I won't name who, 61 watts per kilogram. And also their time to 15 is not great. So for those people, like this bucket of, peak power is something that we can still develop and improve on. So yeah, that was, most of the updates with ASP. And once we have more news to update everyone on, we'll probably do it again. But I want to leave everyone with something that's been extremely top of mind this past year, and it consumes my mind daily. And that topic is leadership. I define leadership as serving people to take them where they want to go while also aligning people towards a common vision. And I think one of the reasons it's been extremely top of mind this past year is because in a very short amount of time, I all of a sudden became responsible for the careers of a lot of people. And I really feel like it all happened all of a sudden. It was like one moment I was training people by myself out of my parents' garage, and then I was training people by myself at a gym that we were subleasing. And the next thing I know, it's like we have, I counted earlier today, we have between the interns and staff, we have 18 people who are then responsible for several hundred people with, who train with ASP, both in person and remote. So, and then we also have 17 pros on the team who trust me with their preparation during this Olympic cycle. And so I went from just like trying to help myself to all of a sudden being responsible for a lot of people. And I just kind of got thrown into that position. Like I was just working, putting my head down, and then I put my head up, and then all of a sudden I'm responsible. And basically there's really no, I mean, there are some, but there's really no, leadership school that you go to. And you kind of just have to figure it out by yourself, through observing other successful leaders, studying history, reading books. I'm only 31, so like I haven't really had the opportunities to practice it yet. And I realized and I recognized that leadership was a deficiency in my skill set. Just like I talk about the bucket system all the time, my buckets for building a business, I recognized that leadership was probably on the lower end. And so that's been really top of mind the past year. And I've been, kind of working hard to develop it. And I recognize that I'm in a season of life where I'm actively developing it, and that it's gonna take time to get better at. And it's really difficult to learn, because the only way that you can create feedback loops for yourself is to try things and then fail at them. And failing also means that other people's lives are intertwined within those failures. So it's challenging. It's not like I'm Winston Churchill, where it's like wartime and there's real lives at risk. It's not like that dire, but it is difficult to try to learn and get better at. But anyways, I want to close this podcast out on the topic of leadership by saying thank you to the team that we have here. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for being elite human beings. Thank you for holding the standard. Thank you for continuing to over deliver for our athletes and the people who trust us with their training, for constantly going above and beyond of what I ask of you. I am honored to work alongside all of you. And in January, we had an all hands staff meeting where I kind of explained the 2026 vision. And I'll close this podcast out by reading this vision that I read to the team. And I wanted to say it again because we've added a bunch of new faces to the team ever since January, and these people didn't get to hear it. But anyways, this I wrote out this kind of 2026 vision out for just internally for the company. And it goes like this. ASP 2026 vision. 2025 was a year of getting punched in the face. We fell 99 times, but we got up 100. We hit a ton of roadblocks. We took on more work than we could handle. We worked tirelessly. We lost a ton of money. But we added superstars to the team. We set up new systems. We set ourselves up for future success. We're able to think long term. To truly pursue potential, it requires a unique person who understands what it takes, a person who can see and feel the thick line between mediocrity and greatness, a person who is constantly in pursuit of self-improvement, a person who hates doing the bare minimum as it's a reflection of their character, a person who understands what it takes to squeeze every ounce of potential out of their body. If that's not you, that's okay. ASP isn't for everyone. But if it is you, and you're tired of being bombarded by mediocrity, come help me build the greatest sports performance facility in the world. Yeah, I read that to the team at our January all hands staff meeting. And I just wanted to read it again, kind of as a reminder for where we're trying to head this year as a company. So that's it for today. We will see you guys next time.